This video is a web demo that's going to show off most of the features in Map Business Online. We're going to be going over plotting data, creating territories, color coding data, and the different ways to visualize your map and the different tools that we have at our disposal. So the first thing to know is Map Business Online is a cloud-based solution, so that just means that it requires internet for use, and the good thing about that is your maps travel with you. So if you have it installed on your home laptop and installed on your computer at work, then as long as you click save, your map's waiting for you in your other location. We're going to go over quite a few of the buttons at the top, but I first want to start with this map and data box. It looks pretty simple, but this is really the key to using the map. The first thing I want to show you is if you happen to close the box, there's a little arrow on the left-hand side, and if you click on that, that'll make it pop back out. And I would just leave this box up and running. There's different views at your disposal, but I would just leave it on custom view because custom view will show you, it'll give you all of the different components in one view. This box is important because it controls our different data layers. So we could go ahead and click on that zip5 code layer if we wanted to create zip code territories. We could also turn on our states layer here as well. And once we've imported spreadsheets of data or created territories, we'll see additional lines listed here as well. There's another important aspect of this map and data box, and that's when you highlight a layer, there's a little settings gear that pops up, and if you click on it, it pulls up a larger box called Manage Map and Data. And this is where we go to change the look and feel of our map. One thing you'll notice is I can make our zip code layer transparent, and that's available through our General tab on the right. And if I wanted to make it see-through, I can swing that all the way to 90%. So this way I'll be able to see street level detail when I zoom in and also see those zip code borders. I can also come in here at the states level, and I can do things like change the color of those borders. I can also come in for labels, and not only can I change the color of those labels, I can change the size. And also, in our format labels, I can show an accumulation of data. So if I've imported data of sales and I want to see the number of customers or the amount of demographic data per zip code, county, state, or territory, I can show that off with a label. So I'm going to close out of this for now, but once again, you just get there through these little settings gears. If we take a look in the top left corner, some of these buttons are pretty self-explanatory. We have create a new map, we have open a previously saved map, and then the third option is to save. And so when you click save, you just give it a name and click save, and then that project is waiting for you. If you ever want to make a duplicate, you can just click that save button a second time and either rename it down here, or you could throw today's date on the end of it, click save, and then you essentially have a duplicate. And you do this if you wanted to make a backup of a really important map. At the top is our address bar, and with this you can type in a street address, or you can type in a city and state, or you can type in just a zip code. We're located up in Maine, so I'm going to just type in a Portland, Maine zip code. And so anytime you use the address bar, it finds it as a little push pin on the map, and you get this toolbar down below. And there's different tools within this bar that you can use. You could save a point in a data set, whether if you wanted to create a new data set or save the point in an existing data set, you can click that button. We have the ability to draw a circle radius, and so you can type in that radius and get the little circle on the map. With the circle, you can make it transparent as well, or you can make it opaque. You can choose to remove the fill, and you can change the borders if you wanted to, and you could always update that circle. You could also click on that point a second time, and we have a drive time polygon that you can use, and so you can create a drive time or a drive distance. So I'm going to just do 25 minutes and see how far we could conceivably get in that area, and I'm going to click this zoom to button so it'll zoom out and see how far I could conceivably drive within 25 minutes of that starting point. You can see whenever you're doing a drive time polygon, you can get further along if there's an interstate nearby. So in this case, I can go further north and south rather than I could west in this case. Once you have a shape on the map, you can click on the shape. A secondary toolbar pops up, and the first button is our search. And with this, you can use the shape to collect zip codes or counties or states if you wanted to create a territory. And so basically any county or zip code that the line touches or is inside of is going to be collected in a territory. Also, if I've imported a data set, like a list of customers, I could query and see how many of those points fall within that shape as well. I also do have a summarize button here, and I can do things like summarize our demographic data. We have many years worth of demographic and many different types of fields. So we have population and race and median household income. We have education levels in there as well. The top data for our demographic data is the decennial census, the once every 10 years census, and so that's why it's on top. If you scroll down here a little ways and you get down to the 2021 data, that's census ACS data. So it's survey data from the census, and we update that about once a year once ACS releases it. And so if you wanted to see that population estimation for that shape, we click next, we can see our estimated population, and I could choose to add that to the map if I wanted to. So I'll go ahead and delete that, and I'll delete my shapes. Zoom out a little bit here. And so next is if you want to get information into the program. So we have our plot data button listed here. This is probably the button that people navigate to the most. And this is to pull in a spreadsheet of your customers or your store locations, competitors, something along those lines. And there's the most common way to bring in your data is by browsing to it. And so I'm going to just bring in a sample customer list here. The important part when you're pulling in a spreadsheet is that in your Excel spreadsheet, you have proper headers at the top of each column describing what type of information is below it. So if you have in your spreadsheet, you have the address information, street address, you can have that in one column, zip, city, you just want to make sure that city and state aren't in the same column. And then you can have additional types of information that you want that you can use to color code by. I have some fake sales information and some customer type, and we're going to use that for color coding and filtering in a little bit. But the important process when we're pulling in the data is we just want to make sure that those headers have been identified correctly. And so we just want to double check. If you have a bill to address and a ship to address in the same spreadsheet, you'll just want to choose this little pull down list and let it know which street address you'd like to plot by. If we click next, we get to our plot data screen where we can set up our callouts. And a callout is the little text bubble that pops up when you hover your mouse over a point. So if you have a name column, leave that as your name. ID, this is for a process called update dataset, which we go over in another video. This process allows you to make changes in your imported spreadsheet. Click save, come into the program, click a button called update dataset. It looks back to that spreadsheet and it'll add or remove the changes. So unique ID is identified for that, and once again we go over that in a different video. Call out line number 1 through 5. You can set these if you want to. You don't have to. You can leave them set to none if you wanted to. And this is just, once again, the information that pops up when you click on a point. And you can always change this information later. It's not a big deal. And so we click plot, and we're going to get all the little push pins on the map. Our standard plan can plot up to 50,000 push pins of data, and our pro version can plot up to 250,000 points on a map. Anytime you pull in data, you're presented with our data window here, and you get the plotted symbols on the map. Our data window just shows a glimpse into that Excel spreadsheet that we brought in. And some things to note in here are you can change the symbols if you wanted them all to look the same. You can change their size and their color. We also have a pretty extensive symbol set here that you're free to use. Or if you wanted to, you could bring in your own symbol with Manage Custom Symbols and bring in your own little JPEG and then have it for each. So if you have a company logo or something like that, you could bring it in this way. We also have a filter in the program, and the filter is located in the middle here, and it kind of looks like a funnel. And with the filter, we can filter by any column of our spreadsheet. So I could do it by sales or customer type, any of these individual columns. So when I want to filter, I'm going to choose this first pull down list, and I'm going to tell it which column I want to go by. So I'm going to try to find the house accounts within my customer type column. The next field over is our different Boolean fields. So if we had a numeric column, we could do greater than or less than or greater than equal to. We also have equal to, we also have contains, one of, ends with, different options here, whether it's numeric data or text. In this example, I'm going to just type in the value that I'm looking for, click filter, make sure I spell it correctly, and click filter. And now I can see that I have 28 out of 455. And if I want this reflected on the map, I'm going to click filter, map, view by content, and all the other points go away except for my house accounts. I can apply a second filter if I want to, and click this add button. choose another column of my spreadsheet that I want to filter by. So I could go down by, let's see, I can go down to state, and I can make that equal to Ohio. Click filter, and now I have 4 entries, and I can either press this refresh button or I could uncheck and recheck, and those other entries will go away. If you want to export this list, you can just click this export button and export it out to a CSV file. Once you're done, we can just remove the filters and kind of just click these X's here, clear those filters, and we're back. If you close out of the data window and you want to get it back, we just click on this little thing that looks like a calendar at the end here. Once we have territories on the map, you're going to be able to click on this pull down list and you can export those territories one at a time, or I'm going to show you how you can export all of your territories at once. So next are our color coding tools. And for this, I'm going to just turn off my zip code layer and my states layer for now, and we'll look at color coding. So let's say I don't want them to be just a bunch of blue dots on the map. I could use this heat map, and I could color code by a numeric column of my spreadsheet, or I can leave it as is for count and click done, and then I get my heat. And if I zoom out, I get more heat, and if I zoom in, the heat starts to dissipate a little bit. I have charts next to it, and with charts we can create bar graphs or pie charts for any of those individual locations, and you can compare up to 6 numeric columns of your spreadsheet. So if you have year-over-year sales for the last 6 years for each location and you want to show that in a chart, you can. Or if you had something like 6 different products or market share for your company versus other competitors, you can have that as well. We have color code with circles, and with this you can have it look at each individual point, and you can choose a numeric column of your spreadsheet. You can make larger, smaller circles based on that numeric total. You can also change the colors here, and you can make them more exaggerated if you want to. So if I leave it on my sales, I can see bigger circles for bigger sales. Probably the most common way that people color code their data is with color code with symbols. And with that, you can have it look at any column of your spreadsheet, whether it's text or numbers. If you wanted to, you could, if you had a column like sales or units sold or number of beds, then you could set up ranges, and you can change the ranges, anything you like, and you can change the size, color, and shape for those. If you do something like a text column, I'm going to do my customer type column. Then you can have different symbols for each of the individual values, and I can bring the size down. I can click this copy size button to make them all the same. Click done, and now I have differentiated points on the map, and also presented with our legend in the top left corner to show us what each of those individual symbols mean. If I were to zoom in, talk about callouts. And once again, a callout is just a text bubble. And so you can show that information by either hovering your mouse over it, or you can actually click on a point, and there's a little plus sign here, and you can expand it. And so you can just keep clicking and show that information. If you decide that you wanted to rotate these around, we have a little settings gear in here, so you can change the callout orientation if you wanted to. And this is where it shows the address, the name, and up to 5 fields. And we set this up when we first brought in our data. If I wanted to change this information, I will go into Manage Map and Data at that customer level, that data set level, click Callouts, and then Format Callouts. And these fields here are the values that are within the callout. So if I didn't want to show a marketing list name, I can get rid of that. If I wanted to get rid of market share, or if I wanted to change one of these values and make it sales, then I can show that sales information and change callouts, and now those are a little tidier. And if you want to close it, you can just click the little X's to make them go away. So next, we're going to talk about territories. And so I'm going to just turn off my customer list now. I'm going to turn back on my state borders and my zip codes. And I'm going to show you how to manually create territories in the program. But first, I want to show you how to import a territory file. So let's say you're coming from an older program like MapPoint, and you have an old territory file that you want to bring in. You click the little Create Territories button at the top, and we're going to click Import Territories. This is very similar to what we did before. We're going to browse to wherever our territory file is. So I'm going to just bring in a real simple one of zip codes. We're going to pause here and make sure that the zip code column is identified correctly in this case. And so a territory file is really simple. You can just have a zip code and a territory name column, and you just put a person's name next to each of the zip codes that they cover, or the territory name, and it's going to basically use that information in your spreadsheet to group them together into combined colors here. I'm going to click next. And I just want to make sure that my territory name column is identified correctly, and if it looks good, we're going to click Create Territories, and it's just going to automatically fill those in with colors for us. Once again, anytime you pull in data, you're presented with our data window here, and with the territory, you can do things like change the color. If you wanted to make it something else, feel free. If you want to, you can click on this little mini data window icon, and that'll swing you over to the tabular view, so you can see what zip codes are listed within each territory. If you don't want these extra fields in here, like filler or counties or states, we have this Choose Columns button in the lower right corner, and that will allow us to edit what's visible in the table. So I could just click on Filter, hold the Shift button on the keyboard, and click up and start to get rid of some of this information. I could also click this pull-down list, and I could pull in information like demographic data, and click this right arrow to make that hop over. If I want to have the population right next to the name of the zip code, I can just press the up arrow, and that'll make it on the left-hand side of the table. And then I can also import information from my customer list. So if I wanted to see the number of customers, I can bring that in. Also, maybe I want to show off my sales information as well. Just scroll down to sales total, bring that in, and bring it up. And then click Set Data Columns. And now I can see all this information that might actually mean something to me on a territory export. And I'm going to click, I can show my count and my sales total for all these different locations in the primary state. I don't actually have any plotted points in this territory, so that's why these fields are blank. If you want to make this territory see-through, you'll now notice that we have a territory line here. And if we go into Manage Map and Data at that territory level, then we're going to click on General tab, and we have our transparency bar. And so I'm going to put that at like 40 or 50% so that we can retain that color and also be able to see through it a little bit. And so that's your preference. I wouldn't necessarily put it at 90% just because you can't really see the territory colors, but that's up to you. So I'm going to close out of this for now, and now we'll go over manually creating a territory. One way you can do it is you can just click on a zip, and when you do, there's a little New Territory button here, and I can type in a name, and once I click Create, it would automatically give it that name and fill it in with a color. If I want more than one zip code and I want to collect them all at once, I can hold down the Shift button on the keyboard and just keep mouse clicking until I get all the ones that I want in this specific area. And then if everything looks good, now I'll click New Territory, give it a name, click Create, and then it's automatically filled in for me. It shows a color for me. I can change that if I want to, or I can just leave it be. If you see that you missed something, you can click on the zip code, and this time you can click Edit Territory, and we have different options here. In this case, I'm going to just simply add to territory. I'm going to add it to Rep 5 in this case. If you're importing an old territory file, zip codes do change over time. And so if you import a file and it looks like a zip's in the wrong location, you can just simply click on the zip code and a Select Geography box pops up. This is the program asking, are you looking to click on the entire territory, or are you looking to click on just this zip? So I'm going to just click on this one zip, and then I'm going to click the Edit Territory button. And this time, I'm going to choose Move To. And so what Move To does is it's going to take it from the green territory, it's going to, and then automatically give it to the one that I want. And so it looks like it should be part of Rep 5. So I'm going to move it from Jill to Rep 5, click Edit, and then that's automatically updated for me. If you want to go much faster than that, we have our search tools at the top, and our search tools are shapes with binoculars. And so if you click the little pull down list here, we have a circle, a polygon, freeform, which is just draw your own shape, and drive time polygon. I use probably freeform or polygon the most. And so all you got to do is just, if you're using a polygon, is just draw whatever shape you want. And then once you come back to the beginning, it'll ask you what you're looking to collect with this shape. I'm looking to collect zip codes for zip code territory, so I'm going to click next, and then I give it a name, and then it's automatically filled in for me. I can then click this delete button to make that shape go away. And I can kind of repeat the process if I want to. And so you can use these search tools to do the heavy lifting, and then if you want to fine tune it, that's where you can zoom in and just kind of click on them one at a time. So we click create, we get a new color. I'm going to close my data window and click this. And I intentionally overlapped these areas. And so you can kind of see that there's a little different shading with a few of these zips. And so we allow zip codes to overlap by default. And that's because we don't know if you want them to or not. So, but we do have a way that you can double check your work. So if I want to, I can go into Manage Map and Data at that territory level, and I can click on the Intersections tab. And once again, we allow them to intersect. And I would leave that checked, because if I didn't leave it checked, then the mistakes that I made when I created Ohio 2, they would have stolen those zip codes that I did by mistake from Ohio 1. So I would leave that as allow them to intersect. And the reason why we came in here is this button here. We can highlight territory intersections on the map, and you can show it with another color. Defaults to red, but I like pink or black or something like that, something that really stands out, especially if you're using a national map. And so then you can see the areas that are overlapping. And if I were to zoom in a little bit, I can click on these zips, and I can see, oh yeah, in the select geography box, I can see it's part of Ohio 1, Ohio 2. And then if I want to edit it, I can just click on that zip, hold down the shift button on my keyboard, click the other one, and then edit territory. And then this time I'm going to choose remove from territory, and I'm going to remove it from Ohio 2 because it shouldn't be there. And so that's how you can create a territory. If you want to show information about your territories, you can show it in a label. So I'm going to pull back my customer list. And so each of these points represents a customer on the map, and I just made up information. I made up some sales information. Let's say you want to show that sales information as a total in a label. You can do that by going to Manage Map and Data at that territory level, and we can click on Labels. The first thing I'm going to do is just change that background color, make it a little easier to see, and then I'm going to click Format Labels, and you can put up to 5 pieces of information here. So for the first piece of information, I check the box for number 1. This first pull down list is where you tell it where you want to pull your data from. So if you have 5 different spreadsheets imported, and you want to call them from one specific data set that you brought in, we just tell it which one you want. In this case, I'm going to just leave it as customer list. And the second pull down list is where you tell it which column of your data you want to pull from. I'm going to actually leave this one on count. And in this prefix box, this is almost like a label for a label. I'm going to just type in the word number of customers. So it doesn't just show the number 7. It's going to show number of customers 7. If I want my second piece of information, I check number 2. And I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to change this information to my sales total. And I'll just put in the word sales. And let's say I wanted to show some demographic data here as well. Rather than my customer list, I can choose demographic data and population. I'll just put in the word pop and click change labels. And so now any territory that I create, it's going to show the number of customers, sales, and the population data. I'm going to show you something real quick that's covered in more detail in other videos, but I just want to touch on it real quick, that with Map Business Online, you can create a territory hierarchy. So you can group zip codes in this example into territories. And then you can take the territories, group those together into regions, and then you can group regions together into divisions. And the process to do that is very similar to just creating a territory. So let's say that I just wanted to simply create a region in Ohio. I can click, and the select geography box pops up. Once again, this is asking, am I looking to click on the entire territory or just an individual zip? In this case, I want to collect the entire territory because I'm going to make a region based on these 2 territories. And then I'm going to hold down the shift button on my keyboard, click on Ohio 1. Now they're all highlighted. I have this button called New Region. I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to give it a name that makes sense. Click Create, and this is going to be given another color. And this Ohio region is the label for this region. And we can see now that we have a regions list, and I can always uncheck or recheck that depending on what I want to see. I can also, let's say I wanted to remove the lines to make this more seamless. I could go into regions and I can click on my general tab and click hide internal boundaries, and that'll take away all of the individual lines that I wanted to see. I could also do that on the territories if I wanted to. So that is how you can create a region. I'm going to delete this just so we're not going to confuse ourselves. And we'll go ahead and delete our regions. And I'm going to turn my territories back on. I'm going to mention one more thing about creating a territory. So I'm going to just create a territory really quickly. And I'm going to intentionally go across 2 states and query those zip codes. A question that we get asked sometimes are, how can you make the state lines appear above your territory? And so if your territory crosses state borders and you want to see those state lines, then you can actually click and drag your state's line above territories. And so now that state border will be more pronounced. And so I just wanted to throw that in here just because that question comes up from time to time. So the next piece is exporting. If you ever wanted to export your information, there's different ways you can do it. If you want an image, you can click on this little globe here, and you can save an image as a PNG or a JPEG file. With this little pull down list that we've added, you can now export territories as well as drawings to KML or KMZ if you wanted to view it in Google Earth. We also have this printer icon, which would allow you to either print the current map view or you can save it as a PDF. And so if you wanted to, you could put in a title, you could change where the legend is located. You could also do a predefined paper size, or you could do a custom paper size. A custom paper size, you could do up to a 5 foot by 5 foot a wall map image if you wanted to. If you want to do an image that's really big, if you want to bring it to, a plotter store, then just give yourself some time for that PDF to render. If you want to export your information out, I'll just quickly save my map. Let's say you wanted to send an interactive version to a non-subscriber. So you have a license, you've created these territories, somebody else in your group is like, hey, can I see those territories? If you want to send it in an interactive way, we have this thing called MapShare. And with MapShare, what this does is it creates a link. And we're going to use this thing called public sharing. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on public sharing, and it creates this link. I copy this link with the copy button, and I just paste it in my own email if I wanted to send it to somebody. And then I'm going to click apply sharing settings. What this does is once you send that link to somebody, they're going to click on that link. It's going to prompt them to download our viewer. Then they're going to get an interactive version of this map. So they're going to have a version that looks very similar to this program. It also is only going to have about 7 buttons at the top. So the viewer cannot make any changes to the map. So they cannot delete data sets. They cannot delete territories. They cannot create territories. But they do have the ability to, they have a search button of their own. So they could search by something like a circle or a polygon and, find customers that fall within an area. So they could, if they wanted to, click a little circle and they could query the customers within a shape and create what we call a marketing list. And so a marketing list is just a subset of points. So they have that ability. They have their own ability to create a picture if they wanted to, and they could create a road route in it. So it's just a neat way that you can share an interactive version of your map with a non-subscriber. We touched on this a little bit, but if you wanted to export the actual data itself, you can go up into the data window. And so this little pull down list shows you the different data you have. You have your data sets, any marketing lists you created. We could click this little arrow to expand it to show the individual territories. If I wanted to show my Ohio 2 territory, I can click on that and just choose to export that individual territory. If I want to export all of my territories by zip code at once, I can actually go to this zip 5 code layer. And this shows all of the boundary zip codes in the United States. But what I'm going to show you next is you don't have to export all the boundary zip codes in the United States. You can export just the ones that are associated with your territories. So we're going to make sure it's on the zip 5 code layer, and we're going to click export. And we're going to check this box that says export only records assigned to a territory. So if we don't have any territories in Alaska, it's not going to export that list with those Alaskan zips. We also have this button here that says add point only non-boundary zip codes. Point zip codes, let me take it a step back. There's two types of zip codes. There's boundary zip codes that can be filled in with a color, and everything that we filled in on the map is a boundary zip code. Point zip codes are buildings that receive a lot of mail, and they're found within a boundary zip code. So your state house location in your state, it could have 17 zip codes associated to it, even though it's just a building. And so that's what a point zip code is. It's just a building within a boundary. Sometimes people really want the point zip codes. They want a complete list of the zips that are within their territory. So if they want that, click to export a point only zip codes. Point zip codes don't really do a lot in the territory world, but if somebody wants a list of that, then you can check that button. If you ever need help, we're available through phone, chat, and email. Chat's great if you just want to come in and say, hey, do you have a video on creating a territory? We can zip that through to you. Phone's great if you're having troubles. You can also email us. If you're having trouble importing a data set, you can email that to us and we can help you troubleshoot. We also do have a help center, and you can get that either from our homepage or you can click on the help button in the top right corner of the program. And our help page has instructions on how to do just about everything in the program. So if you wanted to plot data from Excel, you can click that button. We have short little videos, step-by-step instructions with pictures describing how to do just about everything. We also do have a video archive on YouTube, and so you can click that and see all the different videos that we've made. We've made videos for just about everything. Sometimes customers come to us with cool ways that they're using the program, and we replicate it for other customers. So we have videos for there. If you ever wanted a video on how to export your territories to KML, we have that information that's there for you as well. So the important takeaway is that you have included support, and you can get a hold of us through phone, chat, and email. The program will do more, but these are the features that I use most often in the program. If you have any questions about anything you saw today or anything that you're hoping that the program would do, just let us know. Thanks and have a great day.